Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode. This is Frank Agin, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for tuning in the past. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for referring this on to other people. Thanks for making comments when I post these episodes on social media. Those are all great things. Ran into a wonderful article. Actually, I didn't run into it. Somebody shared it with me. The title of the article is "Don't Worry, You Can Learn to Talk to People Again." And the article is written. Was in the New York. It was in the New York Times, and it was written by a woman, Holly Burns. And she talks in there about, well, obviously we've been going through this lockdown, this global pandemic lockdown, and she talks about, you know, kind of rolling out of this and getting back into the notion of being comfortable with one another. And I have to be honest, as I read the article, it's like, oh, you know, I don't really feel like I need to get back in the swing of talking to people. I spend so much time. I have spent more time talking to people on Zoom and interacting with people during the lockdown than I did before the lockdown. Now, I have not had practice being in a networking event and mingling amongst strangers necessarily, but I have had lots of opportunity to talk to people. Nevertheless, I think this is a wonderful article, and you can easily find it. Just do a search for Holly Burns. Just Holly Burns, don't worry, and the article will come up. It's a 3 or 4 page article, and there's lots of great little bits of information in here. But I did want to talk about this. I did want to talk about the whole notion of, it really kind of falls in line with small talk, because some of the things that are in here, I believe people have issues with anyway. And, you know, for example, one of the points she makes is embrace awkward bits, and that there will be awkward bits. And I think that's the reason that a lot of people don't go out and have small talk, don't get into these conversations, because they're worried about these little awkward moments. The awkward moments when things go quiet, kind of that awkward little silence, or you might say something that's just a little bit off, or they might say something that's a little bit off. You don't know quite how to take it. You know, are they kidding? Are they serious? I don't know. Just kind of embrace those sorts of things. And she uses lots of examples in here. For example, she talks about this woman who's a hairstylist in Davidson, North Carolina, who basically says that she gets anxious before every client. And, you know, she just basically fesses up, you know, geez, I'm sorry I'm awkward today, or sorry things are off. Wow, those 37 cups of coffee didn't help. Obviously, that's going to lead to, you know, nobody's serious about that. At least I hope not. It's going to lead to a little bit of a chuckle, and, you know, from there, you know, you're able to move on. I mean, I don't think we can ever really offend somebody with self-deprecating humor, unless maybe you're an identical twin, I guess. But, you know, making light of a situation, making light of something being awkward, you know, geez, I haven't had a conversation in over a year. You know, those sorts of things really kind of break the ice and put everyone at ease. She talks in the article about using the pandemic to connect. And, you know, we stop and people are always like, yeah, we always talk about weather. Well, we look for things we have in common. We try to establish things we have in common. I live in Central Ohio. I live in and around what we'll call Buckeye Country, the Ohio State University. And during football season, and certainly during basketball season, that's a commonality that people here talk about. Did you see the game? What about the game? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And certainly weather is something else. We all experience weather. we're all dealing with weather during the winter. We're all kind of dealing with the cold, or know somebody who's dealing with the cold. And certainly the pandemic is going to be one of those things. The unique thing about the pandemic is it's truly worldwide. It is truly worldwide. I've had conversations with people and have connections, have great relationships with people in India, Croatia, Thailand, the UK, Scotland. I mean, it's all, well, I guess Scotland's part of the UK. Anyhow, you get my point. All over the United States, all over the world. And the pandemic is part of the conversation. It's part of the conversation. And so it's certainly something that you can go to in having conversations with people to help you kind of carry the conversation. What things did you do during you pick up any hobbies? What shows did you binge? Those are conversations I've heard of people having. But she also talks about in the article is to tread carefully because in reality we don't know what people went through. We don't. And I've had conversations with people, and it turns out that they've lost loved ones. And for some people it's truly scary, and for other people it's been meh. And I don't fault either side. I mean, we're all a product of our own experiences, and there are people out there who just are not more careless than somebody else, but not as concerned. And it doesn't mean they're not wearing masks or anything like that, but they're just not as concerned. Whereas other people are truly terrified and might be wearing masks for years to come. So you do want to tread lightly on these things. There's some people out there that might not be vaccinated and are totally against vaccinations. They're just, what? Before the pandemic, there are people who are out there who are totally against vaccinations. There are kids in schools who are not vaccinated. Now, the vast majority, 99.9%, are vaccinated, smallpox, measles, things like that. But there are kids out there whose parents don't believe in vaccination. They believe that they're harmful. And so they won't do that. So you don't know what you're going to run into. But I've seen conversations where, I'm vaccinated, and people have their own little stories. Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, were you sick? Were you not sick? What did you do? But those sorts of things are going to come up. One of the points she makes with respect to kind of igniting a conversation is offering compliments. We haven't gone anywhere in a year. Yeah, I see people on Zoom. I talk to people, but a lot of people haven't. There are a lot of people who don't have a reason to talk on Zoom. Now, my wife, she works for a large company, and she spends a lot of time on Zoom as well. It's probably the same 12 to 15 people, in different meetings and different iterations. Whereas for me, it might be 12 to 15 new people every week. But then there are other people who just don't have the occasion to talk, and it might be 12 or 15 people over the last 12 or 15 months. So there are truly people out there who are kind of out of their element when it comes to talking to people. She talks in the article about matching energies, as a way of earning trust. And you kind of get the sense in talking to people, what their energy level is, and to a degree try and match that. You want to interject some positivity to conversations, but you want to kind of be there and meet people where they're at. I mean, if somebody's really excited, then to a degree you want to kind of be somewhat excited. But if somebody's not excited, if something's wearing on somebody, you don't want to be the Pollyanna to kind of ignite them. That makes people a little bit uncomfortable. And what we're trying to do is, in conversations, is to be comfortable with other people. It talks about situations that, and this happens even pre-pandemic. You're having a conversation with somebody and you find out that it's a sensitive topic, or they don't want to go there. And it can be anything. I remember, I like sports. I'm not an Ohio State Buckeye fan. Most people here know that. I'm not an Ohio State Buckeye fan. But I enjoy sports. I enjoy soccer. I enjoy college football. I enjoy pro football. I enjoy sports by and large. And I remember having a conversation with somebody, just thinking, okay, that's something we can have in common with them. And it may have been talking about a pro game. There was something notable happening, and immediately the person cut me off and said, "I don't watch sports. I hate sports. I think sports are taking advantage of minorities, taking advantage of something like that." It was like, wow, this is on a really slippery slope, um, and I don't want to go there. And what she talks about in the article, and this may come up with the pandemic, again, people who are for the vaccine or not for the vaccine, or people who want to take it into a political arena. Trump screwed up from the beginning, or Biden's this or that, and it's out there. Trust me, it's out there. Which she basically coaches us to do in the article is just basically make some sort of general statement that's somewhere neutral and just kind of move on. You know, yeah, it's a complicated situation. Whether they get vaccinated or not. Yeah, it's a complicated situation. You're not taking a position. You're just kind of stating, I guess, the obvious, and something that's so general that you're really not on either side. And I guess if somebody presses you for the issue, for an answer to that, you can basically say, well, yeah, it's just complicated. I don't know that I have enough information to answer. So if it starts to get volatile that you can just kind of default to, yeah, it's complicated. I don't really know. It's interesting. I find people on all sides with respect to this, and you kind of leave it at that. I think the worst thing you can do in those situations, what I did with the person with the sports was I just let it go. It's like, all right, there's a limited amount that we can talk to. We're not going to talk about sports. You try and feel them out as for, what they're interested in talking about. Again, it's about making them feel confident and comfortable. And the last thing she talks in here about is, I talked about it earlier, but, referencing something that we probably, well, what did you do during the lockdown? What shows did you binge on Netflix or whatever streaming service they might be partial to, and kind of creating a conversation around that. Hey, have you gotten to the movies? What are their feelings on that? I think there's a lot there. I think it's going to be easy for us to get back into it. It really is going to be easy for us to get back into it. And I think people are going to move at different paces. There will be people who won't be going to concerts. They won't be going to sporting events. They won't be doing things for, I don't want to say years to come, but it might be months, because they're not early adopters. I mean, there are people out there who are already back at it, and they want to be at functions, they want to be at bars, they want to be with people. They're very extroverted, and they're not overly concerned, and they're just going to do it. And they're vaccinated, and people can have their opinions as to whether that's good or not, and that's not really the point of this. The point of this is just kind of helping us reignite that whole notion of small talk and getting back in the swing of things. Advice I would give as far as getting back in the swing of small talk is find opportunities to have small talk. Zoom conversations. I'm recording this on May 10th. Yesterday was May 9th. It was Mother's Day, and I texted my kids we're in 3 different cities and said, listen, here's a Zoom. I'm sending you a Zoom link. I'm going to have Mom get on it, and had Mom on there and surprised, their mother. We had a Zoom conversation. It was just kind of a great, quick way for us all to connect. But picking up the phone and touching base with people and having a personal conversation and kind of warming back up to the whole notion of small talk. I think you'll find that it's much like riding a bike. It might be a little awkward at first, but you'll start to enjoy it rather quickly. It's fun. I enjoy being around people. Most people I know enjoy being around people. Of course, I'm in a networking business, but it's just going to take a little bit of, it's going to be a little awkward. It's kind of like I'm more worried about people driving, to be honest. Small talk, I'm less worried about, but people out there driving, getting reacclimated to driving. Because if you screw up a small talk conversation, it's not the end of the world. But if you drive left of center, well, it could be tragic. So anyhow, to wrap things up, remember we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees and AmSpirit Business Connections. And this is a networking opportunity, or I should say a franchise opportunity, a business opportunity. It's unique in that it allows somebody to continue doing what they're already doing. We're looking for highly driven professionals or entrepreneurs who really strive to be connectors in their business community. And these are people who answer generally to themselves. They set their own schedule, which is important because they need to have the flexibility to do that within this organization. And generally, our franchisees are people who operate in an environment, in a business or a profession where they place a great value on relationships, and so networking is really important to them. And they're people like professional service providers, coaches, and consultants. Our franchisees look to create multiple streams of income. They're working their regular business, and this is something which is a stream of income they can add on top of that. It's good that they have a reasonable track record of success and a track record of leadership. Nothing wrong with young people, but there's something to experience. I think we all can agree to that. And they might be potentially an author, speaker, or a thought leader on topics related to relationships, business networking, or leadership. Essentially, this gives them an opportunity to make more money from growing the number of professional contacts they have in their life. And at the same time, as they grow the number of professional contacts in their life, they're going to make money building those professional contacts. So it's truly a franchise opportunity. If you know someone, connect them to me. Send them an email. Copy me on it. Let us take it from there. That's really the best way to do it. My email is in the show notes and will be repeated here at the end of the program, which is right now.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.